Well, one organization is calling for a wider audit of political donations to root out any and all unethical or illegal donations. Duff Conacher is the co-founder of Democracy Watch, and he is with me now to discuss this. Mr. Conacher, good to see you again.
You too.
In light of these new details about the donations by snc-lavalin to the federal Liberal and Conservative parties, what are you asking for? What do you want to see?
Well, first, there's a big question about why snc-lavalin was let off, because it was a pattern over 7 years, and you really shouldn't see the Commissioner of Canada Elections doing a compliance agreement in that kind of situation. It's an ongoing pattern over many years, very serious violations.
Especially for a lot of people when you look at the money involved here.
Yeah, so one person has been prosecuted from snc-lavalin, but the whole company as a whole, and also lots of other people, let off the hook.
And you looked at that in contrast with the much publicized story of Dean Del Mastro, and that was $20,000, I think, and he was charged for that. So
yes,
a different treatment approach.
Indeed, and
raises questions.
Not necessarily on a partisan basis, because
right.
Democracy Watch's position also is that the Conservatives were let off on the robocall fraud because the Commissioner should have prosecuted in that case as well. And there's other patterns, other complaints that have been filed with the Commissioner with very questionable rulings that have come out of him. So
what do you want to happen here? You've written a letter to key officials.
Well, also we want the Liberal Party looked at in that situation too. They accepted the money, and did they know that it was all coming from snc-lavalin? And so we need to look at that. But also we have many other donation, lobbying, fundraising scandals that have been revealed. We've had board members of big companies raising tens of thousands of dollars for the Liberals, and likely others doing it for the other parties. We want a full audit right back to 2007 when corporate and union donations were banned, looking at the top donors, who they are, and are people who are lobbyists holding fundraising events in their homes, raising tens of thousands of dollars for parties, and then they're lobbying the federal government at the same time, which violates the conflict of interest rules, and also are companies funneling, or unions or other organizations funneling money through their executives and their spouses and family members.
Okay, so that's what happened in the snc-lavalin case. So how widespread do you think that is?
Well, Elections Quebec did an audit looking at a 5-year period, and they waited 30 years to do it after corporate union donations were banned, so way longer than they should have, because there was a big rumor in Quebec that this funneling was happening. They finally looked at a 5-year period. They found $12.8 million in likely funneled donations, mostly from Canada, from companies, and mostly going to the provincial Liberal Party.
When you say likely, that might raise some alarm bells for people. Well, likely isn't proof, so did it happen or didn't it happen?
Well, they can't prove it in a lot of cases because the company denies they gave the money to the executive or the executive's spouse or family member on the condition it be passed on to a party. And of course you ask the donor and they denied it as well, because otherwise they'd be admitting they're violating the law. And so they just looked at the pattern and said, you know, we have this company and all the executives gave and all their spouses and some of their kids. That seems like it was actually organized by the company itself. Only very few people were prosecuted because of that, but it did cause Quebec to lower its donation limit to $100, which has effectively stopped funneling in Quebec.
Is that the secret here? Because there's individuals can still give fairly large amounts to political parties.
Yes.
Is that the way to get around it?
It is. In every jurisdiction in Canada where corporate and union donations have been banned, but individuals have still been allowed to donate a lot of money, $1,000 or more, you have seen funneling happen. It's happened in BC through lobbyists. It's happened in Alberta. They found millions of dollars of illegal donations. In Toronto, in Quebec, of course, as well, and at the federal level with snc-lavalin again. So the secret to stopping big money and the unethical influence of big money in politics is actually stopping big money donations. Lower it to $100 like Quebec. And Quebec even has a further step. If you donate more than $50 in Quebec, you have to donate to Elections Quebec, who verifies that it's your money and then passes it on to the party. And the reason they do that is if a company had 1,000 employees in Quebec, a company rep could walk in with 1,000 checks and say, these are $100 checks each from our employees. And boom, the company's given a lot of money. And it's all hidden because all those employees have different names and really difficult to track. So that's how far they've gone in Quebec to stop it. And that's what every jurisdiction in Canada should be doing, including at the federal level.
So you've written a letter to the Elections Canada Commissioner, Commissioner of Elections, Commissioner of Lobbying, to carry out this wider audit.
Yes. Working together, Elections Canada has all the donations in a database. The other two have a mandate to enforce the law in terms of stopping lobbyists from bundling and raising money for parties, which causes a conflict of interest, and the commissioner from funneling. And working all together, they could very easily do this audit. Start with the top donors, find out who they are, look for any patterns of whether they were donating through a lobbyist or having a company give them money to donate.
Okay, and when do you expect to hear? What do you expect the answer? I mean, what happens if the answer is no?
Well, then they're essentially admitting they're lapdogs who won't enforce the law, because audits and inspections are law enforcement 101. I mean, the police put up speed traps to ensure that people are not speeding. If you're not inspecting and you're not auditing, you're not enforcing the law. So I hope they will fulfill their mandates to enforce these very important laws that protect our democracy. And if not, they're essentially admitting they're lapdogs, not watchdogs.
And what do you think they'll find?
I think they'll find what has been found in every jurisdiction. Elections Alberta did an audit, found illegal donations. Elections Quebec did an audit, found $12.8 million in illegal donations, and likely funneled donations, I mean. And I think we'll find it. It's been seen in every jurisdiction. And I'm sure it's not just snc-lavalin doing this at the federal level. And also, it's not just board members from a couple of companies who have held fundraising events and raised a bunch of money while lobbying the federal government. So hopefully they'll do the audit. They're in the best position to do it.
All right, Duff Conacher, co-founder of Democracy Watch. Good to talk to you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.